The first person who taught me about survival was Lee.
What'd he teach you?
How to say goodbye. Goodbye, Lee.
So usually I do these about a week before the episode releases, but since this is the final episode of Clementine's journey in the Walking Dead final season, and we are going to be getting a trailer on the 20th of March, I want to make sure I get all my thoughts about death predictions out before we get that trailer. So I'm not swayed by what I see. Maybe there'll be some kind of foreshadowing or spoiler in the trailer. I want to make sure I have all these death prediction thoughts out and about, so, you know, my mind will not get swayed. These are my death predictions for Take Us Back, the last episode. I'm going to be listing who I think will live, who I think will die, and who I think will be determinate based on choices. I'm going to talk about pretty much every single character that is major, maybe even some minor ones. I'm going to go through all the major ones first, and then we will talk about some of the minor ones. But I want you guys to leave down below in the comments who you think is going to die. Leave your list down below and let me know what you think of my list. And guys, we're almost there. About 26 days at the time of this video. So, hope you guys are ready. I've waited since August to do these. Since again, I could talk now about Clementine, AJ, some of the really major characters, Lewis, Violet. Finally, time we get to discuss these. So, hope you guys enjoy and I'll catch y'all later. Peace. So, let's start with a bang. The first character I'm going to be discussing is our main character, Clementine. The one we've had since the beginning. And this is our final episode of her journey. Whether she lives or dies, it has been confirmed this is the end of her story. So, this is the last episode we will ever see of Clementine, and even if there is another Walking Dead Season 5 or whatever they do. Now, there's been lots of hints about her fate. We've had the bitten scene in episode 3 where AJ talks about, you know, if you get bitten, Clementine, I want you to bite me. And where Clementine talks about, AJ, you know, we talked about this. If I get bit, you know what has to happen. We had the E3 trailer with Clementine and AJ on the bridge. What would you do if I got bit? In episode 1, you have this example as well.
Ain't you got nothing to say for yourself? Now I see where you learned it from. Maybe you'll have something to say when it's your arm getting bit.
And you see there's a lot of foreshadowing. We'll go more through this foreshadowing when I actually talk about just Clementine individually and her potential death. But my prediction for Clementine is that she will be a determinate character. And the reason I believe this is because we have achievements that kind of hint this, as well as it appears based on what Ian Howe has said that we're going to have multiple endings. The first achievement, Promise, Said You Never Leave. Looks like eventually could be one related to an ending with Clementine and AJ both being walkers. You have You and Me, Came Full Circle. Another one that looks like Clementine and AJ both being alive, meaning that they started off alone at the beginning of the season, that full circle movement, they survived both together. And then you have another one, the last achievement called Savior, hinting at Clementine's potential sacrifice, which again I will talk about in another theory video coming up this coming month in March. But it all hints that Clementine's fate will be determined on you guys, the players, all of us. We will decide what Clementine's fate will be in this final episode of her journey. So, Clementine is a determinate character in my opinion. Let's go on to our next character.
Justified. Justified? It means you had a good reason for doing it. I was justified.
So, Alvin Jr. is my second character, and he is going to have a very interesting fate. I think his fate is intertwined with Clementine's. I also do believe he will be a determinate character, because again, choices have been hinting since the very beginning of the final season that AJ's choices would be significant. We've even seen it. AJ will remember this. We've seen You're Justified. It was Murder AJ. Episode 3, Shooting Lily or Not, you could see his character completely changing. And I think AJ could influence more than just his own character. He can influence Clementine's fate. He can influence Lewis, Violet, maybe even some other minor character's fate as well. But based on what I've seen, I do think he is also going to be a determinate character. And before the season started, I said this, and I'm going to stick to this statement. There is no way, unless there's one specific ending set to it, that Clementine and AJ both live. And I'm going to stick with that assertion that that is what's going to happen. So, AJ, also another determinate character. You will decide based on your decisions if he survives or not. Because I can see him either turning into a walker or living.
Tonight alive.
To making it past tomorrow.
Alright, fine. Maybe we live another day.
And knowing my YouTube audience, this is probably going to make people a little bit worried. Yes, Lewis is definitely one character I would consider might die in this episode. And really, they have hinted Lewis and Violet's importance since the first major decision at the end of episode 1, with either picking Lewis or Violet to trust. Then you had the episode 2 choice with picking Lewis or Violet. And now, with how episode 3 ended, you either have a Lewis without his tongue, or you have a Lewis that is kind of like shell-shocked from killing Dorian, but, you know, either way, he's still got his tongue, he's still happy-go-lucky Lewis. So I believe the choice in episode 2, and maybe some major choice in episode 4, will definitely impact Lewis. Now, I've heard possibilities where people will say, for example, the person you don't romance will survive and the person you romance will die. That's very likely. I do think Lewis will also be a determinate character. You're going to hear me say determinate a lot in this episode. I think there's going to be multiple endings that are going to explain many different characters living and dying. And maybe they'll live in more than one ending. Maybe they'll die in multiple endings. It all depends. And I do think, again, Lewis and Violet will both be important. I'm hoping, though, I've kept Lewis alive. I've romanced him. I think it's going to come down to some major choice in episode 4. I hope they don't literally put Lewis and Violet's fate on just who you romanced or on that episode 2 choice of, for example, who you don't pick is going to die. Or who you pick is going to die, you know? Fingers crossed. But I have Lewis right now listed as determinate, meaning I could see him living in an ending or 2 and maybe dying in 1. So, if there's no multiple endings, man, I'm with these predictions. But, you know, fingers crossed.
You don't have to answer. We've all got our reasons. Why would I go anywhere else if you're here? I'm glad.
So Violet, and her fate, again, is going to be intertwined with Lewis. How I talked about with Clementine and AJ being similar, Violet and Lewis will definitely be similar based on, again, they've been seen as the two characters that you can romance. Also, they have a lot of choices linked together. Now, especially with Violet in episode 3 and the potential, you know, possibility of her betraying us, which kind of, you know, partially came true, I wonder how they'll execute in episode 4 with the bomb explosion. Is this going to affect your relationship with Violet? Is she going to be really even more mad that the bomb blew up? Or, for example, if you know, if Lewis is the one that, you know, is trapped up, is Violet, you know, no matter what, she's going to be happy if, you know, she's not, like, feeling angry at you. The emphasis of Lewis and Violet are going to be huge. And I talked about, again, from the AMA, about how Lewis and Violet choices will definitely impact the ending. And I can definitely, again, Violet will be a determinate character based on your choices. It's crazy to think we might have the 4 main characters of this season all be determinate and live in certain endings versus other endings. It really is crazy that I think this is very likely. I don't think it's guaranteed. Again, if there's no multiple endings, again, I am not yeah, no. But I do see it that we could have Lewis and Violet each impact each other's lives in our past decisions, and same with Clementine and AJ. So let me know what you guys think of Violet down below. So we're going to go through some of the minor characters right now. I'll talk about all of them. And then the rest, you know, I don't mention are going to be probably most likely live, in my opinion. So for the sake of time, not to make this video too long, I'm going to put some characters together. James and Lily, since they are affected by one decision. I believe this sincerely. I think James/Lily will survive. And it has been confirmed. I've looked everywhere for the post. I can't find it. But about 3 months ago, Kent Muddle talked about determinate characters. And he had basically, I'm paraphrasing here, he had basically said where they cannot be killed off by just a determinate decision. Like, you know how Nick died a little bit after, Pete, Sarah. I don't that they cannot die in that way because of a determinate decision. So I believe they will survive this episode, whichever one you save. And I can see James living with us in the boarding school if we end up making it alive. And I can see Lily maybe escaping back to the Delta potentially, if that happens. Now, personally, how likely do I think that Telltale will actually make determinate characters matter in their final episode of the entire, era of Telltale? I don't know. We've seen Conrad make it before, and we've seen a bunch of other Season 3 characters make it, but I really don't know. This is really, Episode 3 was the first episode really with determinate characters, so it's going to be a tough decision. I hope they do care about, the impacts of all that, but yeah, I see James and Lily surviving, whichever one you have alive. This one's pretty painful for me. I do believe Tennessee is going to die in episode 4. And again, a lot of people I've talked with in my streams and videos don't, think if anyone wants to survive other than Clementine, AJ, Lewis, Violet, it's got to be 10. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for them to get the feels train rolling early. I could see 10 dying in the first hour, less than an hour in that. I could see him dying as the aftermath of this boat explosion. He might be a major death. He's such an innocent kid and such a nice kid that I could see it happening. And I do believe, yes, they will kill him off either fairly early or near the end of the episode. And I think we're going to learn about, right when he's about to die. Before that, we'll probably learn the aftermath of why he has these burn marks, which I'll be talking about in another video. I'm hoping to God I'm wrong because personally I want 10 to live. It's just I think, this is the final episode. They have to get some major deaths in if there's going to be a bunch of determinate characters, which I believe that. And I think 10's a good start for them to get the feels rolling. So that's my, it's my prediction for 10. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Let's move on to our next character. The next character I'm discussing is Ruby. And this is another interesting one. Another character that people expect to survive. I believe, sincerely, I think Ruby is going to survive episode 4, but don't be surprised if she dies. I think killing her off would be a pretty shocking thing because I think a lot of people, not many people hate Ruby either, but I think Ruby is going to survive. She'll hopefully I'm going to be right with this assumption that she'll survive and she'll, be happily living after in the boarding school. She's a doctor, she's important. And it looks like she got away. She's not really in the boat, explosion and all that. And she got away with the horses or the supplies, whichever one. And I think she's okay. So, let's move on to our next character. And this is a unfortunate one, but I think Willy is going to die in episode 4. They need to kill off a character early. And I think, again, based on what I've seen and what I know, it's got to either be Willy, OMAR-AASIM, or 10. They're going to kill one of those 4 off. I guarantee it in the first 30 minutes of the episode, if not in the first hour. You can guarantee that somebody in our group will die very early on. Hopefully nobody major, but there's definitely going to be one. And I can see Willy, again, Willy with the supplies. I believe maybe, it doesn't look like he got caught. With either scenario with the horses or supplies, it looks like he did not get caught since he was the one taking all of it. But, again, could that decision impact his life? Could he be determinate? Possibly. I still think he's going to be non-determinate. He's going to die no matter what. I just think that's a choice that I think Telltale's just gonna, they're gonna make. So it's a character here that I want to die. I want to see Minerva die, but I think she's going to survive. And a lot of people, they want Minerva dead. And I don't think they're going to make her determined. I think they're going to have Minerva either escape, go somewhere different, or she'll return back to the school in some kind of redemptive way. I don't know, since her character is kind of new, if choices really are going to matter what we did in episode 3. I think really if there's going to be a major decision about her, I hope it's in episode 4. I hope they make it. I hope personally I want to see her being determinate, but I think she's going to survive this episode. Either she'll be with us in the school or she'll be going somewhere else, who knows where. But again, I feel no emotion for her. If she dies, hallelujah. If she doesn't, then I'm going to be really mad. But I think Minerva will survive episode 4. Take us back. Alright, for the sake of time, again, I'm going to put Omar and AASIM together here. Now, I'm going to give brief descriptions on them based, again, on how much Telltale really seems to not care about the characters. I really hope Omar and AASIM have a bigger role in episode 4, because they've both been just thrown in the dirt, especially Omar. Man, this man just doesn't get enough attention. I mean, I've been complaining about it constantly. I want Omar to play some kind of bigger role in episode 4. They did it with Mitch in episode 2. I thought Mitch was going to be the most minor character after episode 1. I mean, Jesus, man, Mitch was like so minor, but boom, episode 2, they did it. Can I see that with Omar? I hope so, but I don't expect it. I believe Omar is going to be a determinate character. Based on your decisions, he will live or die. And I think AASIM is going to die in episode 4. I said in episode 3 he was going to die, so for my AASIM fans out there, you better hope I'm wrong again. But I can see AASIM dying in this, you know, early, maybe near the end. We'll see. But those are my 2 for that. Now, let's talk about some miscellaneous people really quickly. We've got Celine, I think dead. Dorian, she's determined, so I think she's going to die no matter what. We've got the Gina girl, which is the girl next to Lily on the boat. I think she's going to die too. I pretty much think every Delta member, except maybe Lily, and maybe one surprising name, is probably going to die. But I think every single determinate character that was in episode 3 that was not Lily or James is probably most likely gonna die / go missing / I don't know what's gonna happen to him. But that's been my list for episode 4. Take us back for my death predictions. Okay, so let me go through this really fast in case you weren't really paying attention. So I have Clementine being determinate, Alvin Jr. being determinate, Lily surviving, Violet determinate, Lewis determinate, Tennessee dead, Ruby alive, Willy dead, James alive, Minerva alive, AASIM dead, Omar determinate, Celine, Dorian, Gina almost likely dead. Gina might be determinate, we'll see. Gattermondo dead, and that's pretty much it, guys. So let me know your list down below in the comments. And again, we will be getting a trailer in almost 20 days, guys. We're getting so close. So, thank you all so much for watching. I've got some more juicy topics down below in the description for the next video. Make sure you go vote down below. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Laters, guys. Peace.
Heaven, my home. Sometimes I am tossed and driven. Sometimes I know not where to roam. I heard of a city called heaven.